Hey, welcome to everyone. Native Roots Radio Network's Sunday Night Symposium. This is a special symposium, and this is the 48th anniversary of the occupation of Wounded Knee. And we weren't able to make it out this year because of COVID, but we wanted to talk to a few of the women that lead and have led, and we're really, really happy to have Madonna Thunderhawk, Marcy Gilbert, and Dr. Elizabeth Castle on. And we want to talk about things like what you've been doing, talk about the occupation, talk about your movie, the documentary. We just want to have a nice, healthy talk, catch up with everybody. So I'm really excited to have everybody here tonight. And let's get going right now. And why don't we just I want to hand it over to Dr. Beth Castle for a second here, and let's introduce everyone, and then let's see what everyone's been doing.
Thank you. Thanks, Robert. And my name's Beth Castle, and I work with and have known Madonna Thunderhawk and Marcy Gilbert for since 1998, when we first started working on the Warrior Women Project, which has a collection of archives and some really powerful interviews of women who were the real unknown stories, if you will, that brought about what people now call the occupation of Wounded Knee. And we've been doing so much different work, and there were sort of a combination of what we call activism and activist scholarship, telling unknown histories. And we just have so much going on. And I think the exciting part is with everything that's going on right now, everybody's realizing just how much of an emergency it is when you don't know your own history. And so, it's a problem for the country as a whole, but, in the Indian country space, we're really working hard to get these oral histories and these stories of resistance and liberation and just standing up for what's right, and being willing to stand in the way. And that's one of the things we wanted to be able to share tonight, are some of those oral histories. But all the work is ongoing. And, I think Madonna Thunderhawk, you could share with us what, you were you there yesterday, or just in support of what happened with Liberation Day, February 27th, the first day that I say so-called occupation simply because we give it these words like it was this planned out, military event, but really it was a stand, if you will.
Yeah. No, actually, I wasn't there yesterday. Well, COVID just kind of took over everybody's life. We just can't do what we're used to doing, and especially with myself, at my age and stuff, I don't want to be, high maintenance. I mean, yeah, I'm used to going and being involved and taking part and being a part of it. But at my age now, and because of COVID and stuff, I think people get nervous and get worried. We don't want elders to get hurt or get sick or like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just best that I felt like I should just stay home and stay safe. So that's basically what I did. But I watched a lot of the on social media. I watched a lot of the videos that people took and the pictures that were taken, and it was so it was good because they were, of course, they were all younger people. There was some of the elders, still there and around, but the majority of the people were all young, and you could tell families, and it was just a good thing to see, that our people, even though COVID's happening, they still gathered, and it was good to see that.
Well, Madonna, it's like a couple of years from now, it's going to be the 50th anniversary. And am I going to see you on a horse again in 2 years?
Oh yeah.
All right.
If I'm still here, by golly, and I'll have one for you too.
All right. You'll have to help this old guy, Peeny Geegy.
True. I was thinking, Marcy, about, I was really going deep today thinking there's so many more stories, that we need to know about what life was like, how Wounded Knee happened, what happened after, how it's the beginning of all these things. But the actual walk, like what I was wondering if you could talk about your connection and maybe the survival school and the connection to who started all of this. I mean, I'm not trying to put it in that competitive who did it first, but the origins of the Liberation Day and what you all called it at first, and what your experience was.
Yeah, thank you, Robert, for taking this time, putting time aside for us on this day. I also want to thank all the people who were at Wounded Knee today, and all the prayers that were said, and the riders and the walkers. Thank you for doing that. I joined the survival school that my mom started in 1974. And in 1977, then we were in Rapid City. And in 1977, we moved to Porcupine, community of Porcupine on the Pine Ridge Reservation, which is like 7 miles from Wounded Knee, the Wounded Knee gravesite. And when our survival school moved there, we talked about doing something. In fact, I think one year we just decided we're going to walk to Wounded Knee. And it wasn't like, hey, let's do this. I mean, we decided to do it just ourselves. There was no official planning. It was just like, let's walk over there because it was a beautiful day. And I think that after that walk, we were like, well, maybe we should do this every year and honor, not only in memory of our ancestors that are buried there, but to honor the Wounded Knee veterans that were there in 1973. And so that's what we did. We started a walk from Porcupine to Wounded Knee, and it was just a survival school. And so we started doing that every year. And I'm really I think it's awesome that it's continued this long. And eventually when we started doing that, other communities wanted to get involved, and so then we had walks coming from other places, and so it turned into a 4-direction walk. And it was basically, like I said, kind of like it was a memorial walk. We called it the Wounded Knee Memorial. And we would spend the day fasting, and as we were walking, we would be walking in prayer, because we wanted to recognize the hardships that were going on back in 1890 when our people were being hunted, and they were traveling through very cold weather. They were starving, they were sick, they didn't have any food, all that kind of stuff. So that's why we decided, well, let's fast, because they didn't have food. And we told ourselves that we weren't going to stop. We would walk all the way nonstop. So it was kind of like, young people getting together and figuring out how can we recognize our ancestors and the Wounded Knee veterans, but also do it in a way of some kind of sacrifice, so that we were being taught that through our sacrifice, people that's how we help people, because it's a prayer when we do things like that, when we fast or make certain sacrifices like that. So that's how that happened, and we called it the Wounded Knee Memorial. And eventually, after that, we started having, during that time, we started organizing the survival school gathering, and invited other survival schools to come to Wounded Knee to participate in that, and then also have like a survival school conference. So it was pretty cool, and I'm really thankful that it continues today.
Do you think, things happened after Wounded Knee, factions went left and right, but I know by a lot of people that were in AIM, and especially the women here in Minnesota, that they went on to do other things, but they're still in the movement, but they're doing other things. And I see that both in all three of you. Madonna?
Yeah.
What's your thought on that?
I don't know if people, well, of course people wouldn't understand, because, there's just the last of us that are left here that, us old guys. But the American Indian movement was exactly that. It was a movement. We weren't structured. We didn't have all these, we had strategy, of course. And it was usually, we had to, be strategic around issues that the old guys, the traditional, they call them the traditional chiefs and stuff that were still alive then, they're the ones that gave us the direction. So, but it wasn't like AIM, AIM itself had this whole plan, we were just a movement of families. And one of the things that we did realize is that these issues are going to go on, you know, they don't change, and they haven't. They haven't changed. We're still dealing with the same things, and a lot of it has to do with those of our people that are still land based. So those issues do not change. So it wasn't that like we had to have big meetings or big whatever conferences or whatever to decide what we're going to do. I mean, there was a National Congress of American Indians. That's what they did. We were a movement. So yeah, the issues were there, and you just worked, you just did what had, and it was community driven. And it's still that same way today. The work that we're involved in um, is continuing, and it's all about protecting of the land. There's still the different issues around the Black Hills itself. We've got all kinds of different issues going on that just are part of, the community driven, action that we have to do. And then as elders, the women I work with, we're more of in a support mode right now for the younger people, because it's their time to do the demonstrations and the actions, and so we're there to support that. But in the background, we're still doing those issues like, let's save the children, let's do some, let's try to reestablish some kind of you know um, structure, social structure in our community, on the reservation and off, those kind of steady, ongoing issues.
And I know, Marcy, you're still involved, and you have working with families and children. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have been working with, and when I say we, I talk about the grandmothers group that my mother and my aunts have organized, Wash Agya Naji grandmothers group here on Shine River. And we have been working with a nonprofit out of Connecticut. They're called Simply Smiles, and they focus on providing smiles to young people. And one of the ways that they did that here on the reservation, on our res, was they would come every summer and provide summer programs. And, kids had the opportunity to visit You know, the older ones, we take them to universities and colleges. They got to participate in writing programs and leadership programs and things like that. But one of the other things that Simply Smiles does is they do children's homes. They have a children's home in Oaxaca, Mexico, that's been there for 16 years. And so after my mother and I visited with them, and my mom, those of you who have seen the film Warrior Women, you know about the child welfare issues. And so my mother discussed that with Simply Smiles, the founder. His name is Brian. And so then he was like, oh, you know, he got really fired up, and he was like, well, how can we help? What can we do? And so after, 6-9 months of trying to figure out what to do, he thought, hey, wait a minute, we have experience in children home, providing homes or safe place for children. So that's what's happening on Cheyenne River with Simply Smiles, and it's all through donations. But right now we have one home that's complete, and we're finishing up the second home. And the intent is to create a village environment, and each one of those homes will have kinship parents, and they'll house young people who come through our tribal court system who need safe housing or place to live. And we're looking at focusing on long-term and permanent placement of young people. So that's one of the things that we're involved in here on Cheyenne River, and it's moving along really, really well. We right now we're recruiting kinship parents or foster parents, and so everything's online at simplysmiles.org. You can see the homes, you could see what they look like inside. The application is online. I mean, it's all there. So that's one of the projects that we're really excited to be a part of, because it is a project that there isn't. I think it's the only one in the United States where it's on the reservation. So Indian kids who are in the child welfare system and need a foster home, they can actually stay here on the reservation among their people and have access to, if their relatives want to come and visit, or if they want, they can go to the local schools and still see their friends or whatever. It keeps them in their community rather than shipping them out and they're housed in non-Indian homes. So right now we're looking to get parents, foster parents. So that's really excited. We're really proud about that. It's moving right along. I think the third house will be built in August. So with 3 houses, we'll be able to house at least up to 18 young people.
That's beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, exciting.
That is totally exciting. Beth, did you want to introduce the next video here, or the video that we're going to play?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, part of what the Warrior Women Project as a landing place, the goal is trying to do more to, beyond, for example, those of us who are on the call right now. There's a lot of women whose stories we don't know, grassroots stories. And one of them is a woman named Geraldine Janice. And Geraldine was somebody that I interviewed back in 1998. Actually, I interviewed her a few times. And she is an example of just, she's just such a powerful person who just stood for what she knew she needed she needed to stand for. I remember sitting in her living room. She was really intimidating. I was really nervous, and you know, I just remember during the interview, this any moment there was like a moment of silence. She'd go, well, what else do you want to know? It's like, hurry up, I got stuff to do. What is all this about? And so I was just, you know, and I was fascinated though, the way she was just sort of like, you know, we had to do it for the people. And so it's just this really pure, awesome way of understanding that, like, you know, this thing that Madonna talks about a lot too, which is we're often trying to like understand, like, when does organizing become an organization and the movement stops, right? Like, how do we capture and keep going with this idea of, you know, whether you call it being decolonized, but how do you keep pushing back against this system and then participating in the system, right? When everything about that system is meant to shut you down and stop that movement. And so Geraldine was one of those people who was just holding it down with a number of other women her age and some older who were standing up against the repression that they were experiencing. And repression is in violence. People were being hurt, people were being fired, and it was happening with the support of the federal government through the BIA. And so these things are hard for people to understand sometimes, but it's a story of colonization. And Geraldine Janice is one of these interviews. It's part of the Warrior Women collection. It's what the film is based on, this larger history and story. And so we put together just a 2-minute clip that's out on social media right now that we can play, and then, you know, respond to it, because I know that you know, there's so much more to her story, but we just put this together a few days ago to honor the beginning of what the occupation of Wounded Knee is.
My name is Geraldine Janice. I'm an Oglala Sioux from the Pine Ridge Reservation, and I've been here my whole life. I never went into Wounded Knee, but I helped get food out there with people, or we'd help take the elderlies back out there because they wanted to check on their homes. So we'd take them out, but it was just like a war, you know. There was military out there, you know, them big tanks all around the place. There was marshals all over, and just the women was out there fighting, you know. We'd try to do marches, and they'd hit some of our women that were marching in from the tribal office, and no one cared about us. But after AIM came in, then he got the marshals in here. Mm-hmm. It was war against us, and we didn't have no kind of ammunition or anything. The people were all for AIM, but they didn't want to come forward, you know.
It's
but
dangerous.
Behind, silently, they were for them. And everybody helped them when they were inside of Wounded Knee. The good thing that came out of it, with all the news media here and all our volunteer lawyers, you know, we were known worldwide. And how we lived and what was going on here. So that was good. But the kids at least got their identity back. And the Lakota spirituality. And something they could be proud of, because there's nothing to be proud of around here, you know? They came in with braids and long hair. They weren't ashamed of it, you know? So the kids said, gee, you know, they could do that, we can. And you still see it. AIM did one good thing. It gave the Indian their identity back.
Really?
And their culture, their spirituality, and they thought they were heroes, the leaders, you know. The children looked up to them.
Wow. That's awesome. Hey, I got a kind of a surprise guest here that you guys don't know that is coming on, and I want to bring her on. And she just came from, and she's an OG too, and she just came from Wounded Knee just now, and I'm going to pop her up here and say welcome. Welcome. How are you?
I'm fine. Just kind of a
Good.
little bit tired from the long ride. Not used to riding long ways.
Cool. So
But I'm
do
good.
you know everybody? Do you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
I remember Miss Madonna, the main woman in my books.
Awesome.
Hello,
And
Madonna. Good to see you.
so can you tell us a little bit about your experience with Wounded Knee and who you are, and tell our audience, please?
Okay, my name is Lavetta Yago. I'm Kiowa, from the Kiowa tribe of Oklahoma. I sat under the authority. I sat under the leadership of Carter Camp, the Oklahoma AIM chapter. I came with them, and I ran with them. And within the state of Oklahoma, we were fighting with all the native tribes that we have in Oklahoma, whatever our fights were. And at the time Wounded Knee happened, I was given a choice either to go to college or join AIM. But instead I joined AIM because I wanted to see what it was all about. Not only what it was all about, is because I want to know what was going on in Native country. And I felt like that was the only way I knew how. Because a lot of my people back home then kind of like gave up, didn't really know what to do. So I joined AIM, and I tried to find out as much as I can of what we were all about. And while I was in Wounded Knee, I was way in the back, in the north of Wounded Knee, in a little white church. And that's where I was staying as my bunker. I don't know if Madonna recalls that place, but that's where I was at most majority of the time. And that's it's just an everyday thing. You either stand guard or you sleep. So that's what we did up there. We stood guard a lot of times. Because we were in the kind of like in the front. We were in the DMZ area, so we had to stand guard constantly. It wasn't so much walking back and forth to with everybody else. Because if you did walk back and forth, we still took the risk of being shot at. So instead of taking that risk, I just stayed put. And so I would just get information for whoever goes down. They would bring back the information that we needed to know. Sometimes I felt like we were just out there and we were forgotten, but they remembered we were there. So it was an experience for me to see that and to experience it. You just have to be there. There's so many things you can say about it, but it's just like you just have to be there to know what was going on. But back in those times, I was just 19 years old. I really didn't know nothing. I thought I did, but I didn't know anything. I didn't know nothing about different tribes. I was kind of like brainwashed. I was colonized. And it taught me how to be uncolonized. AIM taught me how to be uncolonized. I didn't have to go to, I had to learn that. And AIM taught me how to speak up, not only for your people, but speak up for yourself. Because I faced prejudice, racism growing up. So I wanted to, I wanted to, it taught me how to stand up, to be that strong Kiowa woman without being afraid of what people was going to say or think about me. because back then it's like I was afraid of what people thought about me, or and I couldn't fight back. I wouldn't say nothing. I would just let them beat me down, and I would stay down. But that's what AIM taught me, how to rise up, and I told them today, I told them yesterday that I was very appreciative to have the opportunity to be there in 73 and be able to go back, because it's been 48 years since I've been back,
Wow.
and it felt good
Wow.
because it felt like home. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's about, what I'm feeling right now. I'm trying to relax here at home, but I could still feel what I felt in 73. And it feels good.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Wow.
Oh, that's so good to hear you.
I
Huh?
just for me, I just want to say Pinigigi to all you warriors, because for me, in 1973, I talked to my uncle a lot, and what he said was he was not proud to be Native until Wounded Knee, until the occupation. And I hear you say that too, and it was a good thing, because now it was a revitalization. Marcy, how do you feel about that?
Yeah.
Uh, how do you
Having
feel about
the
that
better on.
experience?
Oh wait. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, I want to thank you, Lavetta, for coming on. It's good to meet you. I'm so glad there's still some Wounded Knee veterans out there.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. I also really want to express how important it is for these stories to be told, because when I talk to young people now, or non-Indian people who are relearning history, and they they want to know about us, they don't believe me when I say things like, before AIM, before the Red Power movement, Indian people were invisible, hidden, and many did not want to stand up. Many were beaten down, and so there wasn't a whole lot of expression of the pride that our people had. And so when AIM came about, or the Red Power movement, and AIM came about, everybody was like, there it is, that's for me, and I'm going for it. So I really appreciate those stories, because they need to be told, because a lot of our young people and non-Indian people don't believe us. They don't believe that. They just think that this is how it always was. Our people were always proud, and we were, but our people went through that time of extreme oppression, and we were beaten down. Many of our people had given up and didn't want to be Indian, and didn't want to claim it. So I think those stories are really, really important to be told and shared, because that is our history. And so I really appreciate it. I appreciate your story, Lavetta. Thank you for being here.
Madonna, it must have been hard to find out, to see how many people were in there and who's who, and keep track, especially
Yeah.
after all these years, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, got to remember too, in those days, you didn't ask people their name. If they wanted you to know their name, they will tell you. So a lot of people just had nicknames. It was just one of those things, because there was so much repression, and there was so many infiltration, and the feds were just on our backs all the time. So he didn't want to, ever, single people out or anything like that. So, but I just wanted to ask Lavetta about that little white church. Is that the one that was up on the hill there where when they had the firefight that oh, what was his name? The one that got hit. He was
Frank
from Florida
Clearwater.
or Clearwater, yeah. Was that church? Is that the one you're talking about? Where Clearwater
Yes.
got shot? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I remember
Yes,
that.
that was
Yeah,
it. That was it.
yeah. Because we were the medics and we were called out and we were making it up that hill
Hmm.
to to try to. Well, we didn't know that he had died and all that, but by that time they got him out of there. Yeah,
Hmm.
that was. I remember that now. Another person I was just thinking about, Robert, was Stephanie Autumn. She's in your area, isn't she
Yeah,
still?
yeah. I asked her
Yeah.
to come on tonight, and she was having a full moon a ceremony with her family, so she gives
Oh,
her love.
yeah. Oh, because she was a communication. She was on the radio. She held that down. Once they gave us, we had communication with the feds, the bunkers. She was one of them that maintained that. Geez, 24/7. Those young women held that down. So I
And
was hoping
Madonna,
she would.
and that's what I talk about with you guys with the movement moving on, and she's big in helping prisoners, and still is working hard
Oh
every
yeah,
day.
yeah. That's what she's done for years. She's been in prisoner rights. Especially for the federal system. You know. Anyway, yeah, she stayed with it. She just
Mm.
never let up.
Well, if I can plan these better, I'm sure she'd be on the next one for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh, that would be so good. Yeah,
Say, oh,
I was just
I'm gonna
mentioning that.
I'm gonna bring
Yeah.
someone on I'm gonna bring someone on for a minute here and have him introduce himself to you all, and really excited to have him on. Come on, Joe. How you doing, Joe?
I'm good. Oh, here I am. Hi, Madonna. Good to see you.
Hello.
Yeah, my name is Joe Morales. That's my colonized name. My Indian name is Napewashte, means good hands. I'm sitting here by the fire. I don't know if you can see it,
Where are you?
but yeah, I had a good day. I had a good day today. We worked in the garden and got our chicken coop all set up. I feel a little bit humbled to be here with all these women. I'm not sure why you brought me on, Robert.
Well, you're important part of the movement, and I just wanted you to stop in and say hi, and respect what you do out there in Oregon. And also, I think one of the things I'd like you to talk about real quick to everybody is just what you went through. You came up here in the deep north, what we like to call the occupied north in northern Minnesota, where we have pipelines galore going through and a big fight. And if you could just touch on that a little bit.
Well, my partner and I were in at Camp McGeeshee up at Fond du Lac Reservation, fighting the pipe. The American Indian Movement stands against all pipelines and all forms of extraction, and we were up there. I kept telling everyone I was unarrestable, and I should have mentioned that to the sheriffs when I got arrested. But there I was again for the 17th or 18th time getting arrested, standing against extraction, standing against the pipeline. So yeah, that's what I was doing.
Good. That's good to hear.
Yeah. It's so good to see you, Madonna.
Thank you. Good
I
to
have to
see
say,
you.
I don't know this show with you.
That's awesome. I just wanted to get you on to say hi. I see you're having a fire in the backyard here, but I want to get back to Marcella a second here and just talk about what the movement and is meant to you all these years. I mean, you know, your mother is running it and running schools, and you had to rebel a little bit back then, right? We're about the same age. I think I would have rebelled a little bit.
We made a movie about that.
Yes, you did.
Well, not the full, like, not the full version, right? But just a moderated version of rebellion.
She's think.
So, I do want to say that as a young person and growing up in a family that was involved with the movement and is still involved, I would not trade that for anything. I mean, it was something that I wish all young people could experience. I wish all young people could experience the empowerment as a young person, because the adults around my family, when I say adults, I'm talking about my mom, her sisters, and brothers. And they were involved in all aspects of the movement, but they also paid attention to us. And when the survival school started, many of them stuck around, and guided us and helped, give us direction, but also expected us to use our intelligence. They believed in us. They wanted to hear what we had to say, and they wanted us to use our, my mom would always say, this is what's going on, and you guys need to know that, she'd give us orders, and then she'd say, now think about what you're gonna do. Think about what needs to happen next. So it was put in our minds that we are intelligent, and our whatever we had to offer was important. And so growing up in that kind of environment, it's empowering, but at the same time, as a young person, it could be a little overwhelming, like, holy crap, I got to know what I'm talking about, or holy smokes, I got to behave, or there was things that you, as a young person, I had to figure out how I'm gonna, how am I gonna be. And so there was some rebellion, but it wasn't rebellion against what I was learning. It was more like, I think I want to go, I think I just don't want to think about this for a while, so I'm going to go do something else for a while. Because when you're in the movement, everything is, you can't unlearn what you learn. And so when you're raised being aware of oppression and racism and violence and all that stuff that this government uses to oppress people, sometimes it gets heavy and you don't want to hear it. You don't want to, I don't want to go to that next rally. I just want to stay home and watch TV or whatever a young person wants to do, so. But like I said, I would never trade those years. I would never trade those years for anything, because to be a young person and learn what I was learning, I thought all Indian kids were learning that. But pretty quickly, I found out that if you weren't in survival school, you probably weren't learning about the treaties. You probably weren't learning about all the different tribes who were fighting for land and water back then. So it was definitely a very empowering time for me as a young person. And I take a lot of pride in the family and all the things that they have accomplished and the ways that they have led the people in the last 50 years.
So is it overwhelming for you to see that we're still fighting? I mean, we're talking about pipelines. Is it hard on your soul to see all these years from your mother and now you, Marcy, that we're still fighting?
It's I don't know if it's hard. I don't know if it's hard. It's more of a clear indication and realization of what we're up against. And that we're not going to be, I mean, we're always going to be under the gun as Native people. And what I'm seeing now is that I remember back in the day when Uncle Russ used to say, someday everybody's going to be Indian. And I used to think, now what does that mean? You know, what does that mean? And now I know what he meant, that everybody in this country is being oppressed like Indian people were being oppressed. Their lands are being taken, their children are being taken. I mean, you know, it's like anybody who comes to America for freedom, it's a false it's a false you know, it's a false trip. I mean, they get here and they find out that, oh, immigrants are not welcome. My language is not celebrated. You know, the only thing that is celebrated of other cultures is food. But just, you know, like my mom said, if you come from the land and you're connected to the land, then you know what the fight is going to be. And it will always be that. But I have hope because everybody's Indians now. We're all up against the same government. So I have hope, and I believe in our allies, because we don't have time to separate ourselves by labeling or whatever differences we think we have, because we're talking about a planet that is dying, that supports all of us. Not just indigenous people, not just, you know, it supports everybody. And so I think the common ground is we want to live. And if we want to live, we need a planet to live on. And so I'm hoping that the young people will be allowed to express their intelligence, and I hope that they will take courage in doing that, because it's the young people who are going to save the world.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I always say. Gen X is going to save us. Hey, Beth, you know, I met you and I got this shirt a couple of years ago, and maybe you can talk a little bit about. Oh, you got your shirt on too. Talk about a little bit about it, and let's play the trailer. So why don't you just open up and talk just a little bit about Warrior Woman, and then we'll play that inspiring video. That trailer always inspires me. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. I think, you know, I don't want to, you know, it's hard when Marcy does the like save the world part, and I'm like, oh, let me kill that vibe right now. But that's the thing, is like, it gets better every time, you know, in terms of like making these connections. Cause I was just thinking, you know, the way in which like the AIM, empowered, free, critical thinking, liberated mind, like that's the thing that you can't put back in the box, right? That's the thing that lasts for a lifetime. And that's why, you know, I think why Warrior Women Project is trying to do what it is, because not only do we need to know that history, we need that worldview that, you know, Marcy is describing, where, you know, lots of things have changed, but the fight is centered around this space of like, you know, what are we all relations on this planet or not? And how are we going to line up? And so the Warrior Women film that, you know, the t-shirt is, and that we're talking about, the hope with that, you know, is that, you know, Madonna and Marcy's story as mother and daughter growing up in AIM, and the experiences was meant to be this vehicle to carry other people's stories. And I really feel like it does that. And so the trailer is just a short piece of it. But that's so much of what we were trying to capture and want to continue. So, you know, people can, are you getting that weird feedback? Or is it just me? Oh, okay.
No, that was, I had to mute everybody. Sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead.
it's okay. I was just like, dang it. I did my whole speech. Did I just drop it there?
No.
So anyway, the trailer is, the trailer is just a little piece of it. And we do want you to see the film, but the question has always been, how is this film a resource to empower you to tell your own story? Like Lavetta, I really hope we can, hear your story and put it as part of the collection, because I think that's the thing I feel so pressured by is I want everyone to hear and experience these stories. Like, and you don't need to have it like critically interpreted by me. But there are times when it's helpful to connect all those points up. But Warrior Women, as a film and as a project, it's all about serving this movement of liberated minds. So if you want to run the trailer, if you have it, go for it.
This country is built on the bones of our ancestors. We have our culture, we have our way of life, we have our language. What we're trying to do is retain it. Retain our right as a people to be Indian.
It was truly an empowering, free time. Watching the women is amazing how they handled everything. Protecting our people and our children's future and fighting, being warriors in that way.
The press, they just automatically gravitated to the men. And who really knew what was going on and was really running the show were the women.
We were a movement of families.
Being the daughter of Madonna, she definitely had a reputation of being strong. And when someone went to her for help, she did what she had to do to make a difference.
However, we get the job done, whatever it takes.
That always gets me going. Not just to watch the movie, but just really, it tells a great story in just a minute and 30 seconds. It really does.
I like it.
Madonna, do you I'm glad you all like it. That's awesome.
I like
it so much I bought a t-shirt.
Hey, there's nothing better than a man who rocks a Warrior Women t-shirt.
Yeah.
We're proud of that. We're proud of it.
I know. Very proud.
Awesome. So I don't know, where do we want to go from here, Madonna? What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk. My turn.
Yes.
Lavetta, listen. In May 8th, Beth, was that the
May 9th.
Oh, May 9th. Why am I saying the 8th? Lavetta, May 9th was the day that remember the feds came in and busted everybody in Wounded Knee, and most of us went out the night before.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were one of those. Yeah.
Left on the. Yeah, there was. Yeah, a lot of them left. What 2-3 days before? Or I don't know.
Yeah.
They left, and I left on the bus.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I didn't even know. But to be honest, Madonna, I don't even know about people leaving.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that until after I left. And I my ex was telling me that, and I said, I don't, really.
Yeah.
Because he kind of kept me in the dark about a lot of stuff that was going on down there. I said,
Lavetta, could you move back a little bit? Okay, thank you. Pinigi, thank you. You're too close to the mic.
Anyway,
Oh,
the reason I brought it up is because we started out to just do a family thing, you know, because I realized, especially this year after I turned 80, I thought, oh man, wait a minute, you know, kind of, you know, going downhill real fast, you know. I thought, dang, I better get the story told. A lot of my family, my children and my grandchildren don't even know details about when we were actually in Wounded Knee. And then I say, yeah, we were the medics, you know, but I didn't give details and stuff. So I said, well, what we can do this spring, you know, maybe in May, is go down to Wounded Knee, and then I'll walk them through, you know, my family, walk them through, okay, here's where we were at. And every time at night when there's a firefight, we got our medical backpacks and we headed out, and each one of us had so many bunkers that we covered, you know, and so we had to be out there in case someone got shot. So, you know, so they said, really? Well, you know, can we take us, you know? So that's what we're going to do in May 8th and at Wounded Knee. So it would really be good if you could come. I know it's a long way and everything, but if you could come, that way you could get your story told. You could, you know, we could go up there where that little church used to be, or if I don't think it's still there, but, you know, and we could, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to tell our story in detail, you know, because we're elders now, you know, and we need to tell our story for our descendants, you know, so that they'll know what we did from our own words. So that's just something I wanted to mention, you know.
mhm.
That
Is
sounds
that
really
gonna
good.
be, so is that an invite,
Yes, want you to come.
Madonna?
Yes. Yes, I
That's
want
an
you to come.
invite. If that's an invite, I'll see what I can do,
Okay.
Oh,
because, yeah, huh?
Yeah,
I,
maybe Beth, maybe we can get her information or contact information. So maybe we can even, the grandma's group, maybe we can help, you know, with funding to get her up here to Wounded Knee in May.
that sounds great. Yeah, Beth, maybe the grandma's group could help get her up in May.
Lavetta, do we have your email?
Yeah,
Just want to make sure
over
before
there?
you get off. Yeah, just make, if we don't have to give it out now,
Okay.
but we just don't get off the call without leaving your contact information.
I-
And we've been putting up the contact information, info at warriorwomen.org, for anybody who wants to get in touch related to this. But I didn't want to say anything, but I had a feeling that the May 9th event might become something bigger. It's not my place to invite anybody, but I think it just became a gathering. But I just leave it up to, you know, Madonna and the grandmothers group to decide, make those decisions.
Yeah, it's basically for those of us that are actually there, the Wounded Knee vets. So if they want to, they can tell their story, so that it's not going to be a gathering of looky-loos. It's going to be families that come, and they want to hear from their elder who was there, you know. That's the whole idea.
That sounds great. I want to come. I want to be a fly on the wall, because that sounds great.
Well,
Wow.
all flies on the wall who are looky-loos are allowed to come, as long as they provide appropriate media support to those of us who just
Yes.
got volunteered for doing the most awesome gathering of people's movement history. So this is the thing we've talked about for a long time. I had a feeling it was going to eventually happen, but a gathering that is about families there, so that you can tell your intergeneration, you know, you tell your story, and then that story can also become part of the archive. And it's an archive that's for everybody to experience, and that we are always trying to get the stories to Indigenous folks here and around the world. So that's the goal.
Is April 9th a significant day?
May 9th. May
May
9th is the day of departure, the
Okay.
official day of departure from Wounded Knee.
Wow. Yeah, that would be awesome. Wow. So I don't know, Marcy, what are your feelings here? We should probably wrap it up here soon. We've had a lot of people watching this, which I'm totally excited and happy about. I'm going to go Marcy and then and see, are you going to make it down the 8th there, Marcy?
Are you kidding me? My mom? Are you kidding me? My mom's gonna. Yes, I'm gonna be there. I am gonna be there. I'm gonna be holding her hand, and I'm gonna be going like this because I'm the oldest.
Awesome. That's great.
I want to thank you, Robert, for bringing us on, and I want to thank all the people who tuned in. And you guys, everybody, keep up the work. I want to thank all the Line 3 warriors who are out there, and everybody else who's fighting for this life. Hang in there. Love you all.
Peeny Gigi, thank you so much for being on. It's always great. Levy, do you got a few things you want to say before we end? And thank you for coming on such last notice too.
I just want to thank everybody. Thank you so much.
I'm honored. Thank you. Oh.
Peeny Gigi, thank you. And Beth, do you mind saying a few words here? And then we'll go to Madonna and back to you.
Well, it doesn't need to come back to me. It's just, I'm too busy going, uh-oh. I knew a gathering was going to happen, so I'm already freaking out. Everybody's texting me. But as we speak, no, this is wonderful. This is what it's all about. I think, this is the first time where we have, so-called control of media, like where we can tell our own stories. And I just think that we want to do that in collaboration in the best way. So that would be the thing, is that's the point of doing this and sharing these stories. And I'm always grateful when we get a chance to do this without having to spend all that time white-splaining stuff, to other folks. And I think I look forward to, join us also. We're going to be doing Meet the Matriarchs, the Warrior Women Project. We'll be doing this at the end of the month, and we just discussed a possible partnership with you all at Native Roots Radio. And so you can check back in and talk to and connect with Marcy and Madonna, and follow us on social media, which we're really building out, and check us on our website, and we'll be back.
Awesome. Peeny Gigi, thank you for helping us set this all up. And Madonna, the floor is yours, and take as much time as you want.
Hi. Oh, Robert, so honored to be here. Hi. I got to see Lavetta. I don't remember her from, she was what, 18 years old? So she's probably one of those. Oh, there was hundreds of 18-year-olds there, at the time. And I was like, 33 years old. I was one of the old guys, So, but I'm so glad I got to see her face and to hear her talk. So thank you, Lavetta. You made my day, my girl. And I hope to see you in May. And thank you all. Thank the listeners. I'm so honored that you would come and listen to us. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Really. Peeny Gigi, thank you so much for everyone that's spent time. Madonna, Beth, Ogama, who's running the ship in the background there. Come on, say hi, Ogama. This is all the cool stuff that you're doing in the background. Peeny Gigi for all that. Native Roots Radio is on Monday through Friday from 6 to 7. Check your locals. We're in Chicago now, in Milwaukee, and we're just getting bigger. And so we're only getting bigger because we have really good guests like Marcy and Madonna and Beth and so and Peeny Gigi, everyone, thank you so much for being on. This is Native Roots Radio Network, and you've been watching The Woman Lead Sunday Night Symposium.
Bye, goddaughter. Bye, hun happy.
Good night, Happy.